Hi there, Heather here. Hey, I am just doing some recaps on my experience from hiking the Camino. And in this video, I'm going to recap my second week on the Camino and just some of the thoughts that went through my head and realizations and aha moments, whatever, that I had along my journey. I'll just share them with you. You may agree with some of them and you may strongly disagree with some, and that's okay. I'm just sharing my journey. So it is by the way, absolutely gorgeous day back home. So wonderful day for creating a video. I am a little bit close to the street, so if I have a loud street bike or something go by, I'll just do my best to restate that sentence or whatever I need to. We'll just go with the flow, okay? Okay, so on my second week, one of the realizations that I had, and this first one is just random and silly, but was that some of us tend to blame our cursing on the French. What the heck is that about? And I mean, I know I'm not the only one that does it, because I heard it somewhere, but what happened was I was walking along and I was soaking it all in. I mean, the weather was gorgeous and the scenery was absolutely stunning, and it was just great compared to in that first week. I had a couple of days where the hiking was really aggressive, but anyways, I found myself saying, well, this kind of hiking is hiking I can do for 30 days, not that other shit. And then I said, pardon my French. And suddenly, that little inside voice I have said, well, why is it us Americans, and maybe it's not just us Americans, I don't know, but why is it we blame bad language on the French? I don't know. Maybe somebody has an answer for that, but it was just a random thought that crossed my mind as I was hiking the Camino. And then a second one that I had was I was walking along, and in much of my time I did not have earbuds in or anything like that. I just listened to the nature and looked around, and I took a lot of pictures, which is partly why I was so slow, because I took a lot of pictures. But I was thinking about a dream that I had had the night before. And the night before, I had a dream that my son, we had put together those little tykes toy houses. I think they're little tykes. So anyways, that's irrelevant. Those little playhouses, the plastic playhouses. And my son had decided to be ornery, and he went around and he flipped the awnings that go over the windows. He'd flipped them all upside down. And so they were all on the house upside down. And so I'm walking along the Camino and I'm thinking about that. And then I received a download. And the download was, accept God's blessings into the home. Don't push them away from the home. And I thought, that's pretty profound. Why is it we do that? Why is it we just push the rainwater away from our house instead of trying to capture and preserve it for any number of uses? So anyways, just a random thought, and then that kind of spun off to another thought about work and how I'm very passionate about embracing our employees for their ways that they can contribute, and it's not stay so stark on job descriptions and all of this fun stuff. But anyways, my thoughts drifted to embracing your employees' internal artistry, their potential within your current workforce, the potential that you already have within your current workforce. Tap into each employee's internal artistry and what do they have to contribute to the team, right? Like, just because we think that the awnings are supposed to be hung this way, who says? Maybe somebody's mess up should be discussed, because maybe there's a good reason we should do it a little differently. I don't know, just food for thought. Something that crossed my mind as I was trekking along aimlessly on the Camino. And then my next one is a little bit more in-depth, profound. I don't know how you want to. I'm not using the right word for it, but I call it unlocking your life. So I was hiking along, realizing that it wasn't that I wasn't able to do the Camino as I originally had hoped, but I didn't want to do the Camino as I had originally intended. But I didn't see it as a failure at all. I rather saw it as adapting to my circumstances and choosing to transition to something more in line with what my body likes. So much like in life, right? If we don't like our circumstances, change them. I mean, what's wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, not always do we have to finish our journey the exact same way we set out when we started it. Isn't that what makes life truly beautiful? Right? We live, we learn, and we adapt as we go. And when we cling too tightly to the idea of something, despite it not being as expected, we're shortchanging ourselves. I mean, there's a world full of possibilities out there. Don't stay stuck in something that's not serving our highest good. There's really no point. So, for example, do you hate your job? Why the heck are you still there? Are you miserable with your spouse? Well, why are you still taking their crap? And I'm not saying to give up, so I don't need all the hate mail and all of that. I'm not saying to give up. I'm just here to say, root for yourself. You know, you're worth it. You're so worth it. And let me back up just a little bit. Here's where this kind of came from as I was hiking along and why my mind started trailing off to this. I started off with the plan to walk nearly 500 miles of the Camino. And from Saint Jean de Port, I think that's how you say it, all the way to Santiago. And after setting out on the journey and realizing it wasn't quite in tune with my body and my style, I was freezing cold every day, and I was kind of struggling with getting the healthy vegan type foods that I like to eat for my body and my health and just various things like that. I was realizing it's not quite in line with what I had hoped, so I'm going to adapt. And no big deal. A few bus transfers and a few shorter legs instead of hiking 15 to 20 miles in a day. Cut my days down to do maybe 10 or 12 mile days and throw in a rest day every now and again and shorten the trip. I don't need to do the full 500 miles. I can still get the spiritual journey by doing the required 100 kilometers at the end and then a little bit more. I mean, I still did well more than the 100, and I'll give totals as I go, but I'll get all of that together. But I didn't need to do the full 500, and I wasn't breaking any rules to do that. So since when do we have to choose misery? I mean, why would I want to torture my body every single day and freeze to death and eat food that was making me gain weight and all kinds of things? I didn't have to. We don't have to. We can choose life. We get into something, it's not quite what we expect. Well, make a shift. What do we want our life to look like? Do we know? Are we still figuring it out? Well, that's perfectly fine. Do you already know and you just need to take the leap? Well, what's stopping you? What others might think of the leap that you want to take? Is that really what's important? Do we want to do things every day that make us miserable for fear that we might be judged by the very people who are supposed to love us? I mean, don't you think there's something wrong with that? If they loved us in an authentic way, they would root for us regardless. So remember that. Never ever stay miserable doing something to make others happy. Others say, oh, you'd be stupid to leave, or you don't do that. What are you thinking? If people truly authentically love you, they wouldn't want you to be miserable. So it's not fair to you. And whether they believe it or not, it's holding them back too. Because in all likelihood, they're simply acting out of fear. It's not personal. Fear is difficult. And sorry, I'm shifting around a little bit in this video, but the sun has moved a little bit. It's casting a shadow right on my notes. So here, let me move this just a little bit. Let's see, hopefully you can still see me. Okay. Yeah, I think you can still see. All right. Don't mind me. All right. So, fear is a difficult thing for us to let go of, right? But like a roller coaster, it's exhilarating when we do. When you find that right fit, it will be easy to stay, like autopilot, right? Finding that job, doing work that you just love, doesn't hardly feel like work, for example. You know, you'll work longer hours in the day when it's something that's feeding your soul. You just will. And when we stay within the confines of these job descriptions and social norms and predetermined ideas of how something should be, we miss out on possibilities of trying something different. When sometimes mistakes are the most beautiful moments. Like when my son in the dream flipped over the awnings. If we think about it for a moment, wow, that could be such a beautiful mistake. Or I have another example was when I was having my home built years ago. The painters came and said, we made a mistake, but don't worry, we're going to fix it. And the painters went and got more paint. It was the wrong color, so they had painted the doors one color, and then the trim around the doors was 2 shades darker. But it looked fantastic. So I said, no, I actually like it. Don't repaint it. I like it. It looks luxurious. Let's leave it. It was wonderful. So sometimes mistakes or doing things different can be quite lovely. You know, if you own your own business and you're selling a product and that product just isn't selling very well, do you change up your product line a little bit? Well, of course you do. You don't keep the same thing on the shelf that's never selling. You change it up a little bit. Maybe you fixed a van and moved to Colorado to live the van life because you thought that was your dream. But when you got there, you were miserable. Do you stay because you're worried about what people will think? See you as a failure? How about we flip the script in our head and we say, damn, that was brave and such a cool experience. Wasn't quite the right fit for me once I got there, but what a great learning opportunity that got me closer to figuring out what my best life looks like. Right? I had that realization that I'm going to keep going on this Camino journey. You know, as I was hiking on the second week, I'm going to keep going on this Camino journey, but I'm going to just do it a little bit different. I still wanted the spiritual experience, so I wanted to do a large portion of the Camino, and definitely that last 100 kilometers that are required to do the certificate and the ceremony, like I mentioned. But I was going to switch up my plan for the rest. No worries. It's a problem-free philosophy. Hakuna Matata. I don't know, that just started playing. So, finding that key to unlocking our life. And the sun is shining in my notes again, so I'm shifting around just a little bit. But it will require us trying out other keys. Rarely do we find the perfect fit on the first try. And if you did, woot woot! Celebrate your luck, gosh darn it, because that's wonderful. But generally speaking, though, we don't find our favorite best pair of shoes on the first pair of shoes we put on, or our favorite house in the first one we walk into, or our favorite food in the first meal we try. So why in the world do we think we need to find the perfect job or the perfect spouse in the first try? That's an oxymoron if you really think about it. Can we make it work? Well, sure. But how comfortable are those shoes if we make them work? You get blisters on your feet, you're cranky, etc. I mean, perhaps that's a barbaric way to compare a relationship, but let's be real here. Those shoes would probably fit someone else perfectly. And I mean perfectly. Sorry, I'm shifting again. Okay, here we go. So, same goes for that partner who wasn't your perfect match. Just because they're not your perfect match doesn't mean they're not somebody else's perfect match. Right? So hanging on to something just for fear of what society thinks is so backwards. And by the way, to be clear, one bad day is different than a life of misery, okay? So I'm not suggesting that people just jump ship on their marriage just because their man or their woman came home grumpy that day. Think about this for a moment. When you love someone, you really love someone, really, really love someone, you love their quirks too. In fact, those are some of the things that you love the most about that person. Because those quirks give you joy. So don't try telling me that true love and commitment is going through hard times. Whoop. I knew I was going to knock that over. Hold on just 1 second. Runaway water. So let's see, where was I? So I was just gonna say, so don't try telling me that that true love and commitment is going through hard times, because yes, I agree. You have to be able to go through hard times. But joyful hard times are different than misery, right? And you can have a lot of joyful times with someone and outgrow that time in your life or that commitment. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's just not. That I'm certain of. If you want to die a slow and miserable death, staying stuck in a job you hate, or with a person that you fight and bicker with nonstop, because you're scared to live in your truth, well, you're doing yourself a disservice, but you're not only helping yourself to live in your truth and give yourself the freedom, but you're actually giving back too, because that person, as I said before, if they're not perfect for you, they are perfect for someone else. God and I had conversations about that and how there is a perfect person out there for everyone. So clinging on to someone that causes stress for both of you, or clinging on to a job that causes stress for you every single day, is not doing anyone any favors. So that was kind of a big download, and one I'm sure many people will disagree with, but I wholeheartedly believe it. And then this other one is experiential learning, another thing I'm kind of passionate about. So, but this is how it came to be on the Camino, is not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on an education for a career that you don't even know you're going to like. What sense does that make? None. I mean, we need a system that allows us to try things out. In school, for example, why are we memorizing historical dates? What purpose does that serve us in life? It's things like this that I question, and as I'm walking along, I'm like, what in the world? Things that don't enhance our ability to succeed. Can we learn from the experiences of the Great Depression? Of course we can. Absolutely. But is it the dates and the specific names that we currently memorize in high school now that provide us the lesson? No. I don't believe so. And maybe somebody out there has a different opinion. But no, I believe those are just the nuggets to the broader picture. Hell, you're living a Great Depression by living in a miserable marriage. Same lesson, just saying. Essentially. Okay, so I'm being a little silly there, but experiential learning. So that was another little nugget I got as I walked along week 2 of my Camino experience. Hope you enjoyed my little tidbits and my humor. I'm sure you won't all agree. Just food for thought. That's all. One girl's opinion of the world. Take care. Peace, love, happiness.